Are you really scared to try coloring your whimsical girls in with watercolor? Same. I was scared for like 10 years. I stuck to acrylics because I was afraid of watercolors and I was afraid of layering more than anything else. So what I did, as always, I like to keep things super fun and easy, is I came up with a hack that lets you dip your toe into the world of watercolor portraits, but also create amazing shading and cheeks and depths and rosy lips and dramatic eye makeup, all with using a secondary secret little art supply known as gel sticks or art crayons or gelatos. So in this approach, you have zero stress of the whole watercolor layering thing, and you get to go and make an amazing portrait from scratch. Let's go. I am picking up directly where I left off last week, where I drew this girl from scratch in graphite, and then I outlined her in Fineliner, and then I added a little shading in graphite. So first of all, it's really cool to know that you can watercolor over graphite. So I'm not even going to erase anything except her hair. I am going to erase her hair. So I'd like to do that all in watercolor today. You can also erase the shading that we did last week. That was on my drawing channel. Of course, I'll put the link below for you if you want to go ahead and do that as well. And just to keep things super duper simple, I'm using the Decadent Pies set from Prima, just making it really easy. Love a limited palette. You can quite literally use any one of these colors for the skin tone. And then I'm going to be using my Gelatos, and I'm going to show you how you can use Gelatos dry over the watercolors to add more makeup looks and gorgeousness and cheeks. Okay, we're going to be using these dry. You can also activate these with water, but I actually prefer to use them dry, and I like to use them on top of my other wet materials that have then dried. So I use them over acrylics, and I like to use them over watercolors. They're just so freaking fun. Okay, so let's just go ahead. And this is a great experiment too. If you want to do watercolor portraits, but you're scared to do it, I totally get it. That was me forever and ever. But this is a great way to dip your toe in without getting overly committed. And also just helps you try on watercolors. For size, I'm just going to use this peach cobbler. As you can see, I just made my brush nice and juicy, and then I'm just dabbling it into the peach cobbler. And then I'm just going to smooth it out over the face. Now this is hot press. I'm going to go back and do the exact same thing. This is hot press paper, so it's not as absorbent at all as cold press. So I'm not using a ton of water. And this gives it a more like tinted look when you do it over graphite. It's very addictive because it makes watercoloring so less scary. If you do a little bit of your shading before in graphite, you can erase like you saw me do there. So that's one way that it makes it super easy to start in with watercolors, is if you graphite first. You can control your shading. If you don't like it, you can erase it. And I'm just doing like a thin coat over the whole entire thing. And when watercolors get scary, it's because you're doing layers. And so it's okay, is the second batch of the mix that you make on your palette, is it more concentrated or less concentrated than the first one? That's where I trip up. I don't even still use a palette to this day, meaning a palette on the side with water in it. I just go right in from the pan because I hate having to deal with the inconsistencies of having different water every time I go in, the different ratio. I have a whole video on this as well, but you're watching me do it in real time anyways. All right, so she has this like base coat. Let's go ahead and do her hair as well. We don't want to leave her. I love this apple color. It's so pretty. And just, again, keeping it really easy. We're just going to do one simple coat everywhere to get the party started. It's really juicy. You can use less water if you want to make it less, but I really want to highlight how these two mediums work together. So being a mixed media artist is super It's like a fun little cheat because you can always, oh, I forgot our ears. Always do that too. You can always use other mediums together, multiple mediums together, to like problem solve things. You have such a creative advantage over purists who are only using a single supply to do everything. So we get to, it always feels like cheating, but it's super not cheating, but it always feels like a really unfair advantage. Oh, her hair is very orange. Whee! Just keeping this super simple. Yeah, and if you do want to learn to draw, I have a whole separate channel for drawing, which is where we did this girl from. I also have I have her as a template as well. I almost forgot. And that is in my Neat Suite, and I will put a link to that in the description as well. It's like where I throw all my resources from week to week from both of my channels. I just put them in there for everybody. So it's easy grab and go. All right, so we're just filling in this teeny tiny line with the rest of my watercolor. I need to do her ears still. And let's just do her shirt. I'm just going to do her shirt, this blackberry color. Because I don't want it to steal attention from anything else. Oh, I just shot right across her skin. Nice. Classic Karen Campbell mistake every day, every single day. So there we go. Keeping this super, super simple. I already cannot wait to bust out my gelatos. And then her eyes, I'm just going to paint green. And I'm going to zoom way in so you can see that better. And I'm just going to put a heavier bit at the top. And then I'm going to just use the water to kind of move them into the rest of the eyeball. They already are shaded. They already have their little white. And these look a little uneven, so I'm just going to add a little bit more on here. So they're kind of even Steven, if you will. Ooh, I'm going to make her lip color this other pecan. It'll match her hair. This is a darker color. So once everything has one coat on it, we will let it dry. And then we will go right to the gelatos. So again, I just put, oh, my brush is too wet, and I'm too lazy to get my paper towels from the other room. And here we go, just making the bottom lip a little bit lighter than the top lip. Oh, and her ears. Just fill those in really quickly. Oh, and her earrings too. Now see how like orange that is when you don't dilute it? But her ears will be a little bit darker because they're in the shade of her hair anyways. So that is fine. Although, no, it looks a little stupid. I'm just going to take a little towel and lift. And that way now they match. All right, so she has a very light skin tone. So I'm going to dry this with my heat gun. And then we'll come back and we'll play with the gelatos. Okay, so you can absolutely, of course, keep continuing with watercolors. But then that would defeat the purpose of a little demonstration today, which is using gelatos straight up over on top. Now, first of all, she's looking like a little sallow because I put such a thin layer on and because of the graphite. So first thing I just have this peach color. So this is step one, where you could start to add a little gelato. So I just started. It's not moving very much. So in that case, if you did want it to move along, I know I said we were going to use these dry, but you could add a little water with your brush and actually get that moving a little bit, just like you would with the watercolor. Okay, so don't freak out. You have options. Okay, so here's another little bit. So I'm just reinforcing the shading that already was there with our graphite. You can come down if you like. Now the thing about gelatos is they don't smear as much just magically on their own. They like to have a little bit of gelato, a little bit of a base down first, so they blend well with each other and not as much just like naked on the page, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of peach here for some cheeks, and then I'm going to add a little bit of a lighter pink color. And actually I'm starting off really slow, but you can actually dive in a little bit more boldly if you like. And then whenever you're feeling brave and ready, you can just take your finger and start blending these out. I'm pushing down pretty hard. So this works better on hot press because there is not the texture that you would get with cold press. So I'm going to add a little bit more and a little bit more over here. I'm also going to make her nose have a little shading because I love like a little red nose. It's so cute. I have a mix of old sets and new sets, so some of them are like, they have different looking barrels. Because I have some sets that are like 15 years old and I have some new ones. Also, I should mention that gelatos are not called gelatos anymore. Faber-Castell seems to be rebranding them. So you can find them under gelatos, but you can also find them if you just look under Faber-Castell. I think they're just saying they're like art crayons, gel crayons. So you can look under a couple different names in order to find that. And then look how cute she is. Just using my finger to moosh that in. And again, if something is being stubborn, you can use water to move it around. I want her nose to stay clear, but I do want her nose to be pink. And it looks like such a beautiful blush that she's wearing. I'm always amazed at how nicely this ends up looking. I'm going to add I want to give her a little bit more drama on her eye makeup. So I'm going to do a little bit of a dark brown up here. I love me some more dramatic eye makeup. Yes, please. And you can always do lighter shades, obviously, or blue shades, or green shades, or whatever shades you like. But that's pretty fun. Accentuate her eye makeup. Add a little bit up here. Even still. Ooh. Oh my gosh, she is turning so pretty. Okay, so now we also have like under her neck should have quite a bit of shading too. I like leading with this peach color again because my paint was so thin. But this alleviates the stress of having to learn how to paint, and you can still have fun with your watercolors. So I'm going to do all three of these. I'm going to do the peach, and then the berry, and then I'm even going to do the super dark brown up close to her, because necks really truly have that dark shading. You can also keep a baby wipe handy in case things get out of control. They're water soluble, so you can just take a baby wipe and erase your mistake, basically. Or just use water to move it along. I'll make this even darker. Eek. The only trouble I have with them is the tip is so blunt that it really is, and so are my fingers, big fat fingers. It does make it hard to squeeze into these little spaces so much. And then of course it's like fading to nothing, so then I can just add a little bit more of that gelato. And then use these wet or dry. I'm going to continue using them dry. But I really love how if you're scared to start with watercolor, but you really want to start to learn it, it's so cool knowing that you can dip your toe in without committing to all the little layers, because it's those multiple layers with watercolor that I especially find really tricky. All right, her ears are super in shadow as well, so I'm going to add a little brown to those. So it's really dark inside here. And I think we can also do some to her hair. Now, I think what I'm going to do with her hair is I'm going to do a combination. I just want to experiment with this and see if this will work. I'm going to add a little bit of gelato, and then I'm going to watercolor on top. I don't know if that's actually going to work or not, but I'm going to try it. I've never tried it. So why not? So I'm adding a little bit of the dark brown to the tops and the bottoms. And I'm going to use, I'm so nervous. I sincerely don't know if this is going to work. I'm going to use the darker, that pecan color again. And I'm going to see what happens if we activate these gelatos. They are water reactive. Ooh, they are not moving whatsoever. Nope. They're disintegrating and not moving. That's hilarious. I actually love being a guinea pig. It's my favorite thing. Because I think as a mixed media artist too, like you get used to problem solving a lot. At least I do. Maybe that's just because I'm making mistakes all the time. But yeah, I have a lot of confidence because I know I have access to lots of different things, and knowing how they layer up successfully is something that I have a lot of experience for. And actually, if you are dying to know a lot of successful layers, because there's so many art supplies out there in the world for sure. I actually have this, I think it's 32 pages. It's pretty long. I have a PDF called just using watercolor to cover up these dark bits. It's called the hot dog. It's a hot dog method. Bear with me now. All right. That's actually looking pretty good. I'm just taking this dark color and I'm just running it back over the gelato, which looks terrible. And it's called the hot dog. So I have this signature mixed media layering method. Actually, it became a book called my hamburger method, and it's 7 layers. And then I decided that's actually a lot of layers still. So I was thinking after I published that book, like there's a ton of mixed media you can do with just like 4 layers. And so I named those hot dogs, and then I went around to a bunch of people and I asked them, I explained what a hot dog was. It was any mixed media project that has 4 or fewer layers, and I asked them to send them over, and I put them all in a PDF. So if you would like my hot dog packet, let me know. And this is not in there actually. So this is another successful layering kind of combination, right? So here's how it works. We have a plate. So the plate is basically your substrate. And actually, I will just fill this out as we go. So the plate is the substrate. So for this, the substrate is my hot press. So for this, that is my hot press paper, which I think is really important because it needs to be waterproof and it needs to have no texture. And so that's pretty much only hot press paper. So I would put there too. You could get away with mixed media paper too. Okay. And then the bun is the main ingredient. And by the way, the hot dog packet has this in here too. So you can actually fill it in when you are discovering your own successful mixed media layers and that they work really well. So this is the main ingredient. So the main ingredient is watercolor for this because that's our base. And then I would just say on graphite. Okay, and then here's the hot dog. This is what are we adding on top? So that would be definitely the gelatos on this. Okay, and then the toppings are like what you use sparingly on top. Ones that are super common over watercolor that work well, I would definitely, you could use colored pencils, 100%. You could also use ink, especially for, had I not highlighted her eyes yet, I would use ink, white ink to highlight, or you could use like the ink, this could be for a highlight or the outline. Mine just came pre-outlined or outline. Okay, so those would be too good. You could also use watercolor pencils. So it's just whatever like your toppings are. And that, my friends, is a hot dog, and that's a new one. Actually, I have my binder right here. It's become a whole massive binder of, these are all different artists that I've connected with. And I'm like, give me your best, give me your best layers. And so they did. So it's cool, and I made it into this thing forever ago, but I wanted to get back to it because it's actually really handy, especially if you're like, I don't know what to make today, or you're using, say you're doing watercolors and you're like, what else can I put on top? You can run through this and be like, oh, okay, I can put watercolor pencils over Tombow markers. Cool, cool. Or, oh, I hadn't thought to use a micro pen over my pastel pencils. You know what I mean? Or colored pencils over marker. So it's educational in both ways, and it's a great way for you to track kind of your own successes. Sorry, I didn't mean to digress so much, but it's a really good resource, so I wanted to let you know about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually dry her now. So that was a little bit of a failed experiment, although was it? Because look at how it creates like some texture that's quite, so I actually don't hate that at all. But I want to work in here a little bit more and add those toppings and finish off the shading. We mixed this stuff by her hairline, and then we can complete our new hot dog today. So I'm going to dry this with my heat gun. All right, I really want to finish her up and make her look super pretty. Just as discussed, I could actually use colored pencils right now if I wanted to, but I want to use gelatos as much as possible. So it's consistent with our hot dog, and I want to add a little bit more drama. Ooh, drama llama. I don't like using the iridescent ones. Those weird things happen to those sometimes when they get really wet. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to add some more red to her lips though. And if you guys know of better ways of blending this, you let me know. I'm doing it kindergarten style, which has always worked well for me. There's probably a better way. Oh, she is coming alive, and it is so gorgeous. So I'm going to use a little bit of water in hopes that it helps me spread the bottom lip a little bit better. Trying to adjust. It does seem to move okay when I use just the tip of my brush. It does seem to move it, but whereas when I sweep my brush over, as you saw, it didn't move at all. So that's quite interesting. Oh la la, she's so gorgeous. Okay, I wanted to accentuate her eye makeup even more. Just love some drama. Go in with that darker again. Like super playing up her eye makeup. Just because I'm feeling it. In the video that I recorded in drawing her, her lashes got so crazy. My video ended up being about how I had to save her with graphite because her eyelashes were super spider lashes. Because yes, it also happens to me. All right, so now we have some more shading around her face, which is like how shading works. For her hair, now I'm going to use this more as it's supposed to be, which is back using my fingers to spread this out. Okay, so we're doing darker at the root and the top, which makes it look like a nice little halo. So not only is it easy to use the darker colors with gelatos, but you can also use them with the white, and it's so super pretty. So that is what I'm going to show you last. Just getting these bits and bobs out. So I made this kind of dark in the middle, and I kind of lost some of that. But you can, some of the like white glow, but you can use the white to actually make quite a nice glow. Just have to find like a finger that isn't totally dirty already. And you can also use that as well. It also works really well. Now, if I had say made her face too strong, probably the wrong word. I'm gonna make a bigger ribbon over here of a highlight. And then if we want to disperse it, yeah, it feels like a little bit of water is enough to just scoot it around a bit. But it makes a really nice, it's not working that great on her hair. Give her poor hair a break. But it does make a really nice glow on the face. If you've done your watercolor maybe too dark, it's a great little way to correct things. Also use a little white on her bottom lip. You can also choose to not rub it in either. Now let's finish up her gorgeousness. I think her eyes can use a little bit more drama. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that blackberry color, and this is my watercolor again. I'm actually going to spread it across the top, here and here. I did not need to cover up my white. I'm going to excavate my white. So eyes look really nice when there's a little bit more drama and shading inside here. So I'm actually going to shade inside there like super on purpose. And then that kind of draws the eye towards us quite a bit. And then her little tear ducts are just flat out wrong color. So I'm just going to use a little bit of one of the colors on my palette to color them in and make them a little bit more pink. And in that way, when you zoom out, they have so much more depth just by adding those colors on there. Yeah, so that is, in summation, some beautiful way that you can start watercoloring your portraits and then use gelatos as a secret trick to make beautiful blended cheeks, accentuate the eyes, the makeup, anywhere you want to add a little depth and a little daring, a little shading, a little added vrov. And then again, if you want more, you could come in here with colored pencils. Absolutely. That would be my next move. And I'm actually so happy with her. I'm not going to change her, but that will be a great addition. If you wanted to do loose strands, you could absolutely take your little colored pencil and add more of that glow in the hair. That didn't quite work out very well with my gelatos. And yeah, if you found this video helpful, I would love a little thumbs up, and you can check out this video for some more gelato and mixed media inspiration and more hot dogs. I got a few more videos for you, so enjoy that playlist, and I will see you next week. Bye.